What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another late night in the BrewLab with me, Lone Fox, your brewmaster-in-chief. And tonight, in the BrewLab, I'm coming at you with episode 3, or part 3, of Wilds of Eldraine Spoiler Talk. And as you can see on the screen, I'm still sitting on yesterday's stuff. But there is a lot to get through. Over the last they always intersperse the main set spoilers with this stuff from the enchantment bonus sheet. I'm not going to cover these things because they're reprints. Some crazy stuff going on. From the rumors on Twitter, some of the stuff's been like preemptively banned in historic, like Blood Moon and whatnot. Don't ask me why. I'm not into those formats. But as you can see, plenty has happened already, even just since yesterday, and they've already even started to show us some of the stuff from today. So I need to just get cracking and jump right in. So I think my face is okay over here, maybe over here. I don't really want to get in the way of the cards that I'm reading, but I think here's fine. Anyway, I'm going to be always reading the stuff down to my left, my other left, my right, down here. So first up, we've got Gadwick's First Duel. This one I actually had a little sneak peek of last night while I was in bed. Just refreshed the page once. I haven't read any of the others, so plenty of stuff that I'm just going to be kind of first time reacting on camera for you guys. But Gadwick's First Duel I actually had a look at last night, and it seems pretty freaking nice. Reminds me a little bit of a card that's already in standard right now. It's a saga as well. It's got Read Ahead. And I cannot remember the name of it because especially blue cards, they don't really stick in my brain. But the part where you can recast an instant or sorcery with mana value 3 or less this turn, copy that spell, you may choose new targets. There's a I think a 3 mana blue Read Ahead saga from Dominaria that has very similar bit of text on it. But this one's interesting. So it's 2 mana, which is, you know, very nice. I think, like, I'm definitely going to be playing this in my, because let me just do this, okay? I like doing this. I'm talking my way through the set as well. This whole draft archetype, the blue-white sort of tempo deck that's starting to form up out of the set, which also includes down here, Hilda, the Icy Crown, and this guy over here, Sheree. I was already mentioning earlier during previous episodes of Spoiler Talk that if they just make cards that tap stuff down, then good. And also that put auras on the opponent's thing. I'm thinking even to go like Esper and also throw in this lady. What's her name? Where was she? Yeah, Ariette of the Charmed Apple, because then, you know, if you put these rolls, there's the one sort of negative one, the cursed roll that you put onto the opponent's creatures, and on top of other auras that we can already have access to in standard, then those creatures will now no longer be able to attack you or planeswalkers you control. So maybe Esper with, you know, Ariette and Hilda could be starting to form up into something potentially very playable. And I think Gadwick's First Duel here is part of that, as well as Bitter Chill, which is the next card we'll get to. So create a cursed roll token attached up to 1 target creature. So you target the opponent's creature, and then it becomes a 1/1. No matter how big it is, now it's a 1/1. It's got this little aura enchantment token on it. The second chapter, Scry 2, great. And then the third chapter, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell with mana value 3 or less this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. This just seems like a very nice little, like, comeback mechanic, where, you know, stabilize against aggro type of a thing. You know, you pop this down, you put it on there. You know, maybe it's the 3/3 Ronom Excavator guy that got to be a 3/3 because it was played on top of a chapter 2 of Commander Faces Kakazan. You make that guy into a 1/1 now. Then the second chapter, you scry. You find the answer that you need. And then the third chapter, you can cast a removal spell, and then it'll copy. So you can do a double removal and get rid of 2 creatures at once. So pretty nice little like comeback saga. I'm a huge fan of Gadwick's first duel here. As far as blue cards go, this is more my type of thing. But next up, very important piece of the puzzle, I think. Talking about Ariette and the other freaking Ice Queen lady from further down there. Bitter Chill. 2 mana enchantment aura, enchant creature. When enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. So you're going to be able to get a trigger off of the Ice Queen lady down there. If you remember, you pay 1 and you can either make a 4/4, draw a card, or scry or something. That's phenomenal activated abilities on that Ice Lady. So this is going to be fantastic because it taps the creature. Then, enchanted creature doesn't untap. Its controller's untap step. So it's just the latest in these long line of auras like this in blue. Usually they're called Charmed Sleep. This one's a little bit different in a good way. It's definitely like just an altogether upgraded version. Because if it ever gets put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you can pay 1, and if you do, scry 1, then draw a card. So that's quite a lot of extra gravy on your Charmed Sleep for 2 mana. I think this is a freaking nice little uncommon, and if that deck ever takes off, this is going to be an important part of it. You'll probably be playing 4 of these. I really like this extra little bit of gravy here. Drawing cards is the best thing you can do in Magic, and paying 1 isn't that much. Next up, we got Ashiok's Reaper. Kind of like reverse Enchantress. So 4 mana for 3/3. Don't know how like playable this will be in Constructed, but still an interesting effect. So whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. So these, if there forms up to be some kind of a deck where we're often changing the roles on our creatures, because note, you can only have ever 1 of these enchantment aura tokens on each creature. If you put a new one on, the previous one has to be removed, and that effectively means it's going to the graveyard, so you'll be drawing a card whenever that happens. Pretty cool. Let's see. I don't see all of the pieces of the puzzle yet, but if anything, you know, and I like that it's a nightmare. We've got the Ashiok that makes little nightmares. Some stuff happening. Next up, we got a reprint. I got so hyped on this reanimation spell because it is ridiculously strong. Lich Knight's Conquest. But now we're having the Restless Cottage here. Exile up to 1 target from a graveyard. We've also got the already existing stuff in Standard, you know, Graveyard Trespasser, the Scrap Gorges. There's plenty of this incidental graveyard hate going on. And now, Agatha's Cauldron. Talked about it yesterday, exiling stuff from graveyards. But most importantly now, we've also got a reprint of Soulguard Lantern, which, you know, just completely shuts down any sort of graveyard shenanigans. And it just comes down on 1, and from that point onwards, at instant speed, you can pay 1, tap it, tap, sacrifice it, and exile each opponent's graveyard. So definitely going to be sideboard for any, if a reanimation deck, thanks to that Lich's card further down, you know, creeps up and becomes super top tier and starts to dominate the format, Soulguard Lantern is going to be, you know, one of the tools that we can use to shut down that strategy. It's great. You know, when it enters the battlefield, you know, straight away, graveyard hate. Then, if it ends up being that you don't really need to do the whole, you know, exile each opponent's graveyard thing, then you can also, added bonus, little extra gravy, pay 1, tap it, sack it, draw a card. So just, you know, we know this card. Just nice new artwork on it, phenomenal. It's going to be probably a sideboard piece, but in best of 1, Constructed, if Reanimator starts to be a problem, then we're going to be bringing in some of these for show. Next up, we got this weird one. Extraordinary Journey. It's a 2 mana enchantment. You could just play it for 2. But you can also pay 2x. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to X target creatures. For each of those cards, its owner may play it for as long as it remains exiled. So it doesn't tax them or anything like that. We just force the opponent to recast those things again. And and then whenever the opponent does that, then we get to draw a card. It only triggers once each turn. So whenever 1 or more non-token creatures enters the battlefield, If one or more of them entered from exile or was cast from exile, you draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So, nice, I guess. Like, you bounce all of the opponent's stuff, and then you can start to draw some cards when they play it again. And then you can also potentially, you know, counter them again on the way down or whatever. And note that when you when a creature goes on an adventure, you do the adventure first and then they go into exile. So this will trigger even if the opponent's playing a bunch of adventure creatures that have already been on their adventure. Now he's casting them from exile. You draw a card. So might be quite nice in a control deck to just have like a couple of these as a way to just like stall a bit and draw some extra cards when the opponent tries to fill up the board again. Next up, we got another rare in Talion's Messenger. A 3-mana 1/3 with flying, and whenever you attack with one or more fairies, draw a card, then discard. So there's going to be a lot of this looting going on in the fairies thing. You'll see there's some other stuff coming up, and also things that we've already covered, where there's a lot of this like draw, discard, draw, discard. But then whenever you discard a card this way, you put a +1/+1 counter on target fairy you control. It doesn't have to be on Talion, it can be on one of your other ones. And like these Dimir tribal decks over the years, they haven't always been amazing, but when they are, they're amazing. I'm thinking of Rogues, Dimir Rogues, Mill, you know, quite recently, one rotation ago, was it 2? That deck was dominating the format, absolutely owning. So let's see if like Dimir Fairies is going to be the next big thing and how strong it'll actually be, or whether it's more of a draft archetype, or there's some cards that you'll be able to play in eternal formats, you know, because there's already some fairy decks over there. But interesting. I like this effect. I like that you can put it on any fairy you control. And a 1/3 isn't terrible. And then if you just do it once, and it does, you know, you can play it and then attack with one of your other fairies that you played earlier. Because whenever you attack with one or more fairies, doesn't have to be it. And then you just start putting counters where you want them. And there's reasons why that's good. Also including Agatha's Soul Cauldron here that gives abilities to things with +1/+1. Also, you know, important to note, Thoughtseize at Home, as it's being called over here. The downside is only going to happen if you don't control a fairy. Obviously, you won't have a fairy in play on turn 1 if you fire this off on turn 1. But if you top deck one of these like in the mid game, it's Thoughtseize with no downside because you're very likely to have a fairy on the battlefield, and that just makes the card. I'm sure it's gonna be played all the way back into Explorer. That card, it's bursted. Next up, we've got Likeness Looter. Talking about fairies, another rare in Dimir. It's a 2-drop, so you know you can go this into that one. And I was just talking about all this looting going on. So it's a 1/1 flyer, and tap it to draw a card, then discard a card, and then it's got this weird ability X. Likeness Looter becomes a copy of a target creature card in your graveyard with mana value X, except it has flying. And this ability, activate only as a sorcery. So I guess before combat, you can do this multiple times, so you don't have to tap it. And do, you know, make it a copy of multiple things and have it gain more than one ability. Am I reading that correctly? Oh no, it'll just become the copy of the next thing. So I mean, you're better off just doing it once, right? But I guess you can draw and discard, put stuff in the yard that you want to copy, and then you make it into a flying version of that thing. I still can't see the whole picture, like what I would like to copy with it. If it'll just be like, you know, the obvious thing, like, oh, let's make it into a, you know, a Traxa. And so you put your library full of like these things to discard with the looting, and then make copies of it with the likeness until end of turn and get in with the flying. I don't know, but it's a cool effect, and slowly the concept of this fairy deck is forming in my mind, and I just for one can't wait for the whole set to be spoiled so I can start theory crafting in preparation for early access, because you better believe that I'll be testing Dimir Fairies on day 1, so stay tuned for that. But next up, we got Return Triumphant. Got a similar thing actually right now already. I think it was from Brothers War. Also for 2 mana, I believe it was. Or was it 3? It's called like Reconstruction or something like that. But anyway, it's the same thing. It's always the same, like, unfortunate. Otherwise, it would be too busted, but it's like the same mana value. So return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. But the added little gravy on top, as far as this particular version of this effect, is that you also create a Young Hero Roll token attached to it. And the Young Hero Roll token is starting to look like my favorite one. Whenever this creature attacks, if its toughness is 3 or less, it gets an additional +1/+1 counter. So you put it on, you know, you can bring back your Talia or something, and then it's now not only going to be a +1/+1. Oh no, wait, I think the Young Hero Roll, yeah, it's +1/+1 straight away, but then it keeps, whenever it attacks, you put more, and you get to scry. No, that the scry one is the sorcerer one. I'm gonna have to start to remember these things, but regardless, it's a cool little card. It's just like these type of effects, for some reason, just, even though there's lots, you know, there's at least 2, if not 3 other options. There's also the most recent one, which costs 3 mana, that instant speed green one. And they just never end up seeing that much play. Let's see if it, you know, this extra gravy with the Young Hero Roll token makes it better than previous versions. Honestly, I don't think so. Next up, we've got this set's take on Feign Death. What's the current one now is called Undying Malice. There seems to always be at least one card that does something like this in every single set. Again, this one just seems to be, this has the whole of the Twitterverse in an uproar, the people that play Modern. I don't know why, because I don't play those formats, but everyone's like, oh my goodness, this is just ridiculous in Modern. It has that got something to do with Lurrus? Wasn't Lurrus banned in Modern? I don't know. But again, same as usual. It's a 1 mana instant speed thing that you put on the creature that when it's about to die, and then instead of dying, when it enters the, you know, when it goes to the graveyard, it returns to the battlefield. But in this case, the extra little gravy is you're going to be getting a Wicked Roll token attached to it. And that means +1/+1, and then when this aura is put into a graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life. Probably my second favorite of these rolls. I can't wait to make a deck where the whole point is going to be to ping the opponent to death with these type of like drain effects tied to rolls, leaving the card over and over again. There was a card, I can't remember now, so I don't want to like waste too much time, but there was one that said, you know, whenever an enchantment goes into the graveyard, the opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life or something. And you can imagine this conceited witch would fit into there. It's going to be a cool little archetype. I can't wait to test it out. Sorry, getting a little sidetracked. I can't help myself. But yeah, just probably the best one of these effects of late. Very nice. Next up, we got another fantastic card. This one I'm going to have to tab into because I cannot speak Japanese. The Raccoon Familiar. Not quite there as far as, you know, mana dorks. Again, this is the second one already, the set. That is, it costs 2 mana, and it taps for 1 green. You know, why not just play Lana War or the oil one that we have now instead, you know? They're stronger in toughness, they tap for a mana of any color, not just green. But this one has a lot of extra spice, okay? First of all, you can pay 1 green, tap it, discard a card, return it to its owner's hand. Reminding me a little bit of something like Shigeki. And then it's got this, so that, you know, in the beginning of the game, you play it on for 2 mana and use it as a mana dork. And then at some point, once you've arrived at the amount of mana that you need to cast the adventure side, which is 7 mana, then you can bring it back to your hand, and then you play the 7 mana thing. And it's a mill 7 cards, put a creature, enchantment, or land card from among them onto the battlefield. Let's see what the internet is saying. There we go. I mean, exactly. Oh, Fabio. Hey, Fabio. I know you. I won't give away how, but yeah. I agree completely with your statement. Mana Dork with some late game action. Great. Yeah, exactly. I've been saying this in spoilers earlier in the spoilers, where you know you're forced to make the decision: do I do the adventure first, and then play the backside, or do I wait? But then it usually happens that it's too late of a turn, so you have to make all of these decisions. This one, it's like incentivize it to go the other way around. Where first you play the front, then you bounce it when you get enough resources, and then cast the. I like it. I like it a lot, and it's repeatable. Exactly. Fantastic comments, guys. I agree with everything. Next up, we've got the Ice Wrought Sentry. 3 mana, 2/3 with Vigilance. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 1 and a blue. When you do, tap. There we go. I knew there'd be lots of this, because otherwise they wouldn't have made this Ice Queen Lady. Before I keep calling her the Ice Queen Lady for the rest of the spoilers, one more time, let me look at this. Hilda of the Icy Crown. Hilda, they wouldn't just print a card like that and just like no support in the rest of the thing, especially in considering draft. So here's I think another important piece of the puzzle alongside Bitter Chill, because first you attack and then you do the thing. Because of the vigilance, you can still get in for the damage, and then you do the thing after. And whenever you tap an untapped creature an opponent controls, it gets +2/+1 until end of turn. So you attack first. Now it's got, it's going to be getting in for the damage. Then you pay this, and it's not even a tap ability. Nice. So then I don't get the vigilance, but okay. You may pay 2. When you do, tap target creature and opponent controls. Whenever you tap an untapped creature and opponent controls, so the... Does this mean I can do it multiple times, depending on how much mana I have open? Am I reading this wrong? Whenever it attacks, you may pay 2. Whenever you do, tap target creature and opponent controls. Whenever you do, +1. That's freaking epic. That's really, really nice. Misa likey. Misa likey a lot. Next up, Pastore Velato. An Italian card. I don't have to tab out for this one. I can just translate it. 2 mana, 2/2, Spirit Warrior. With, okay, it's one of these cross-colored ones. So it's an Orzhov Adventure and, white creature, black adventure. The adventure side is called Falciare le Ombre. So cut the shadows or something. Cutting the shadows. The creature controllate. All creatures opponent control get -1/-1 until end of turn. A little micro sweeper action. -1/-1 for 2 mana to all creatures. That's not terrible, and most importantly, deals with Talia. It's not an instant speed though. It's sorcery speed, Stregoneria, which is a little bit annoying. And then the creature side is a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, una creatura bersaglio che controlli prende. Okay, so when it enters the battlefield, it gives a target creature you control +2/+2 until end of turn. Nice. Not like groundbreaking, but a nicely well-designed little card. I like I've been really, really liking these cross-colored adventure creature combos. Most of them have been really good, especially the rare ones. And I'm thinking mostly the dragon guy, but this one is also really not bad at all. Next up, we got three bowls of porridge. This is the Goldilocks story. 2 mana for a food. Nice. Pay 2, tap it, choose one that hasn't been chosen. 3 balls of porridge deals 2 damage to target creature. Tap target creature. Sacrifice 3 balls of porridge, you gain 3 life. Wow. That is freaking nice, man. That is so nice, dude. That is a really cool little card, man. Those options are great. 2 damage. That deals with a lot of stuff. And it's repeatable. You don't have to sack it. Next turn, you did 2 damage. 2 damage. You can have multiple bowls of porridge on the board and do, get rid of a bigger creature with 2 of them. Yes, it costs 2 mana. But I love the versatility. And then again, it looks like just maybe another piece of the puzzle for old Hilda down there. You can also tap things down. or gain some life. That's a really nice little uncommon. Ooh, I like that a lot. So far, my favorite uncommon of the day. Guaranteed. Love the flavor. Pun intended. That's a cool little card. Next up, we've got the black one from the cycle. So we've already seen the white one, haven't we? Which one have we already seen? Maybe it's just been me looking at stuff on Twitter, because I mean, it feels like Mythic Spoiler here is a little bit slower than other websites, and I do, you know, I can't just not spend all day on Twitter to completely avoid some of these for myself, but I've seen the white one. I'm sure I have. I think, yeah, it must have been on Twitter. But anyway, there's this cycle of these big enchantments that... Oh, wait, no, we saw the blue one. I'm sure we did. I'm so sure. It was like the Panharmonicon in blue. Where was it? I'm so sure I've talked about this already. Anyway, there's gonna be one of these in every color, where there's an adventure side and then a big enchantment side. So it's the enchantments, adventures that have enchantments that have adventures. In the case of Virtue of Persistence, 7 mana. The adventure is 2 mana. Lothwain's Scorn. It's a sorcery speed, gives -3/-3 until end of turn you gain 1 life. So it's a nice little removal spell in the early game for 2 mana. You know, some -3/-3 action, so getting through some indestructible stuff perhaps. And the little extra gravy of life gain. Mwah, chef's kiss. But then later in the game for 7 mana, at the beginning of your upkeep, put a target creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Dude, that's like Portal to Phyrexia. It's not even your your graveyard, it's any graveyard. That is really nice, man. That's basic. How much does Portal to Phyrexia cost? 9, doesn't it? This costs only 7. For okay, it doesn't do the sweeper action when it enters the battlefield. It doesn't have an ETB trigger. But that's like a very, very, very strong card right there. Holy cannolis. Again, maybe this is why they needed to reprint Soul Guide Lantern. It's looking like this reanimatory type shenanigan thing is like really being pushed in this set. Here's another big old reanimation type shenanigan going on. Very nice. Extremely nice card. I'm getting so excited, guys. I don't think I've been this excited for a set since Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, honestly. It's so far it's been that good for me personally. I think it's going to really shake things up, and it's what we needed. We need a big shake up in standard, and the set, it looks poised to do so. Next up, we got the Red Cap Gutter Dweller. So it's a 4 mana red card that's a 3/3. That's competing with things like your Thundering Raiju. So it better be damn good, because Raiju is one of my favorite cards. It doesn't have haste, so already I'm like, eh. But when it enters the battlefield, you make 2 of these black rat tokens. Guys, I just went and did some searching while I was theory crafting, initial preliminary theory crafting. There is, right now, a rat from Phyrexia, all will be 1, that says all rats you control have toxic 1. So we're going to be able to probably get some poison kills a la Selesnya Toxic or whatever, but with your rats. I think it might actually end up being like a full-on, not just like draft only, but full-on constructed, like standard playable, cool little like rat tribal deck. I'm super hyped on it. Even yesterday we saw some interesting little pieces to that puzzle. The butcher here, and this guy whose name I can't possibly translate on the spot. But here's another piece of that, and it's not even legendary, thank goodness. So anyway, I haven't finished reading. So it makes 2 of these rats, and there's this cards that trigger when rats enter the battlefield and creatures enter the battlefield, so cool. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, you put a +1/+1 counter on Red Cap Gutter Dweller and exile the top card of your library. What? Okay, this card is sick, guys. So you make the 2 rats, then it just sits there, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't have... It's not an amazing ETB trigger, and then it can just die to removal. But if it sticks around, the very next upkeep, you get to sack one of those rats that you made, grow your Dweller bigger. He's got menace, so now you got a 4/4. The turn that it actually can attack, suddenly it's a 4/4. Now it's starting to remind me a little bit more of Thundering Raiju. And you get this amazing little card advantage thing where you also get to exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. This is sick. Super sick. I'm a huge fan of this Goblin Warrior here. And I love the art. So far, they've just knocked it out of the park with the art for me. This is a sick, sick card. Very high on this guy. Ooh, I cannot wait to test it. Next up, we got Godric, the Cloaked Reveler. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Haste. Good. Celebration. We've seen this already. So it's that thing where if more than one non-land permanent enter the battlefield this turn, then something happens. So as long as 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield and you control this turn, Godric, Cloaked Reveler, is a dragon. With base power and toughness 4 for flying and pay 1. Dragons... Ooh. This is so annoying, though. Because we've already got Sarkhan. We've got Godric now. We've got the other guy that's in Rakdos colors, Migloz, I think it was. Now that we're like up to like 3 of these 3-drop humans that care about you playing dragons. And it's like, which one do you put in how many numbers, and which colors are we forcing to go? Is this better than Sarkhan, dude? Maybe we play them together. Maybe we get like 2 of each and just doesn't matter which one you play. They're all kind of nice. And it becomes a 4/4, and then you can pay 1 and make dragons get +1/+0 until end of turn. It's not amazing. It's not broken. It's not like the most insane card of the day, but I, for one, am going to be doing some Rakdos dragons again, all sorts of, Jeskai dragons, Izzet dragons. I'm going to be trying 5-color dragons. There's enough cool new dragons, even just in this set, that makes me think that it might be doable, like, to jam this type of stuff again, and I'm all for it. So, Godric, nice, thumbs up. Well designed, balanced, not busted, and I like that it's got haste. So, you can swing right away and at least get some damage in, unlike some of the other options. Next up, we've got a 4-mana instant in black. 2 and 2 black. Instant speed, exile target creature. If you control an enchantment, scry 2. Probably going to just be like a piece of removal for limited. I don't see this being that played. 4 mana is where Sheoldred's sitting at. You just got better options. You could even just play Soul Transfer and get all the extra value out of that you do. Potentially you can reanimate something and exile something, and Soul Transfer is creature and planeswalker, and it costs a mana less. Sure, it's sorcery speed, but again, I don't think this will see any play in Constructed. Next up, Flick a Coin. 3 mana, 2 and a red for an instant. Flick a Coin deals 1 damage to any target. You create a treasure token, and you draw a card. Could be a lot worse. It's definitely not terrible. It's also not like anything, to write home about. It's just a lot of little things. 1 damage to any target. Get rid of Italia, or just ping the opponent for 1 more. Make a treasure. That's good. And draw a card. That's actually really not that bad. That's actually really not that bad at all. That's honestly. I wish it was 2 damage to any target. Maybe then it would have been an uncommon, but that's fine. Make it an uncommon. Make it a little bit better, you cowards. Nice little card. Nice little value package there. One damage, treasure, draw a card. Instant speeds. You can do it at the end of the opponent's turn. I like it. Next up, we got the Dutiful Griffin. 5 mana, 4/4 flyer. 3 mana, sack 2 enchantments, return it from the graveyard to your hand. Draft chaff. Alright, we're onto some more Japanese stuff over here, or... I'm sorry, dude, like, anyway, I'm fairly certain there's not too many people that watch me regularly that are Japanese, and anyway, I'm not saying anything to offend you, other than I cannot read any of these different Asian, alphabets, so I cannot tell whether it's Korean, Chinese, Japanese, or whatever. But yeah, we got another 6 mana Fang. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. It's a 6/7, which is big, but it doesn't have trample. The only good thing to say about it is it can't be like, yeah, draft all-star. There we go. It's green. Yeah. Draft card for show. But nice little, you know, destroy target artifact or enchantment for 2 mana. That's like perfectly on rate for that type of effect. And then it just sits there in your adventure zone. And then later in the game, you make a big old bear dude. Giant warrior bear man. Right, you know, 6/7 is ridiculous, but again, probably just mostly for limited. Next up, we got a blue. Oh, I wonder if that's instant. No, it's not. It's a creature. You can see here. It's got power and toughness. So this is the Gush Spellcaster. Elemental Wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a sorcerer roll, attach it up. Man. Draft chaff. Back to the English cards. Agatha's Champion. 5 mana for a 4/4 human knight with bargain. It's got trample. When it enters the battlefield, if it was bargain, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Again. There's, you know, you can play... would you rather play this on turn 5 in your mono green deck? Or would you rather play, you know, the new Vorinclex? I think I'd rather be playing the Vorinclex, honestly, but, you know, it's only 1 green, so it doesn't have to be played in your green deck. Maybe there's some night tribal shenanigans going on. In that case, might not be terrible, but 5 mana is a lot. Although it's 5 mana, that's a fight spell and a creature. Yes, you have to use the bargain thing. But I don't think that's going to be very difficult to do this game. Like, the more I read these cards, the more I realize how easy bargaining cards in is going to be. There's going to be so many of these little tokens lying about. Food and roll tokens lying about on the battlefield that you can easily just bargain every time that you need to. That's my opinion so far of it. And we're also going in, you know, these cards are joining a format where we've got might tokens, treasure tokens, blood tokens. You name it, there's plenty going around to sack to the bargain mechanic. So might actually be kind of cool. There's, you know, this is Eldraine. There's going to be a Knights deck. I cannot wait to try Knight Tribal. Will you be playing? Usually it's like Boros or Rakdos or Mardu, but like something plus green Knight deck doesn't seem to fit the bill. You know, we've got the Azorius, maybe Bant, because we've got the new, the Planeswalker, the Teferi from the last set. That was a battle and a Planeswalker. That's all Knights and stuff, right? So there's now, it looks like more support for Knights. I just don't know if we'll be playing green. Discerning Financier. Oh, darling, I'm such a discerning financier. Look at my fancy hat with feathers in them. Of course, he's a noble. 3 mana for a 2/3 at the beginning of your upkeep. If an opponent controls more lands than you, create a treasure token. That's nice. And then you can pay 3 and choose another player. That player gains control of target treasure you control. You draw a card. Draft card for sure. right? I mean, there's way better things to do on 3 in your white deck. This is going to be great in draft, though. Amazing in draft. Give the opponent a treasure, you draw a card. You can do it multiple times. And if you're behind on mana, you just keep making treasures. And it's a 2/3, which is a pretty good blocker in limited. But this won't make any impact to standard, I can tell you that right now. And now we go straight to the 18th already. And let me just do one little refresh now. There we go. We got another card as we were talking. So we got only another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to go. And then we're done for today, guys. It's been a good one. So far, lots of really interesting stuff. Today especially. More than the previous day, in my opinion. So cut in. 4 mana at sorcery speed. It deals 4 damage to target creature. Then you create a young hero role token attached up to 1 target creature you control. It should have been 5 damage. It should have been 5. At sorcery speed for 4 mana, it should have been 5 damage to target creature. At least we can deal with Sheoldred with it and get the gravy. The roll token. Limited card. Meh. Next up, Brave the Wilds, a 1 mana sorcery in green with bargain. If a spell was bargained, target land you control becomes a 3/3 elemental creature with haste that is still a land. If it wasn't bargain, you search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Okay, it's just like a different take on Bushwhack or whatever. You know, these 1 mana find a land things. The other one was potentially a fight spell, optionally. This one is if you've got a little thing lying around to sack to the bargain mechanic, then you get a little 3/3. Let us not forget about that turtle we saw. How's that turtle? Blossoming tortoise. My bad. Yeah, well, it is a turtle. You know, land creatures you control get +1/+1. So now we're going to be getting a 3/3. And it's going to be a 4/4. That's not terrible. That's not terrible. Make a land into a 4/4 out of nowhere. Nice. Let's see. Let's see. For now, again, I can't really say. It's not easy to tell without having seen the rest of the set. Next up, we've got the Chancellor of Tales. 4 mana for a 2/3 flying fairy advisor. Great artwork. Love the colors. Whenever you cast an adventure spell, you may copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. Maybe 1 mana too expensive for it to be proper. But again, what if this fairy deck is kick-ass? Then maybe, just maybe. Also, you know, looking at Explorer, Historic, that kind of thing, the current 3 mana fairy that has that bounce ability as an adventure and then has flash. What's it called? Thieving. Oh my goodness, why can't I remember the name of this card? You know the one I mean. It bounces something to the opponent's hand on the adventure side, and then it can be flashed in, and then it's a 3/1 flyer. Something. And it's also a fairy, so you know, some compatibility with older formats, as well as being a pretty nice effect. I think 4 mana might be a little bit too much, considering the stat line. It's pretty easy to remove. Next up, and getting close to the end here. Hopeless Nightmare, 1 mana enchantment. Ooh. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life. When it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, scry 2. And you can pay 3 to sack it. That's not terrible. Enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card, loses 2 life. On 1. You know, straight away. Like turn 1, boop, you pop this down. The opponent's already behind on advantage and on life, just straight away. And then there's all these cards that care about, you know, when an enchantment is put into a graveyard, yada yada happens. So then you've just got a way to do that for 3. And, you know, it's an enchantment. It's a permanent. There's all kinds of things that care about that. Tatsunari comes in mind. You know, we're going to be trying to do some like Golgari / Sultai Enchantress stuff with Tatsunari. This looks like a nice little piece for that deck. I like it. Next up, we got another white card. So big white and blue cross synergizing, you know, adventure creature in Azorius. And it's what I meant to say was another Italian card. So I can translate this one on the fly. Cricca del Gomitolo. So like what's that thing that you give a kitten that it plays with? It's just a roll of string, a ball of a yarn. The yarn gang? Yarn gang? Oh, now I have to see what it is in English. But yeah, Cricca is like a band or a gang. And then Gomitolo is like, yeah, the yarn ball. It's a 3/3 flyer for 4, but then it's got this 3-mana adventure called Rip the Stitching. Instant adventure. Destroy a target tapped creature. Creatura tappata bersaglio, yeah. Destroy target tapped creature. Nice. That's a nice little one. Let's go and see how I nailed my translation. No, it's not a creek. That's badly translated. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, this is really good, actually. This is nice. The fact that it's got instant removal for a tapped creature, which is what white does anyway at that mana. I think, you know, Elspeth's Smite right now is much better, obviously, at 1 mana, but similar effect. But it's also on a creature, and that's got flying, and of a relevant type for this fairy tribal deck. Maybe it's going to be Esper. I love me some Esper. But yeah, they got it's not a creek. Otherwise it would be Fume or something. You know, creek is the wrong translation. Mythicspoiler.com. But Tear the Seam is right. I think that's a good translation. All right. Last little refresh, just in case. Nope. That's it, guys. That is going to be it for today's episode of Spoiler Talk. Some really good ones. I thoroughly enjoyed a lot of these. I'm probably for today, let's say in terms of actual strength of the card, probably Virtue of Persistence. In terms of power level, or the little raccoon man here. I would say these are the two like actual best cards of the day. But personal, flavor-wise, kind of my playstyle, things that I can't wait to try. I'm going to give the award to the Red Cap Gutter Dweller over here. And then as far as uncommons for today, I think 3 Bowls of Porridge takes the cake for me. Please let me know in the comments what you thought about today's spoilers. Which are you the most excited to play with? Which one stood out to you as being the strongest of the day in all the various rarities? Oh yeah, so as far as commons, well, it's probably going to have to be not this one here, Not Dead After All, or perhaps actually this little Hopeless Nightmare. I would say that's my common of the day. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you in the next episode of Spoiler Talk Part 4. So stay tuned, and until then, this is Lone Fox from the BrewLab, signing out. Peace, y'all.